Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Julian Hubble. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager for Dratec UK, and I'm delighted to be able to present this webinar today entitled the AP903 and Dratec Mesh. Also joining me today is my colleague Alex Shuker, who's our CTO, who'll be on call later on to answer any technical questions that you may have. So thanks for coming, and we'll crack on straight into the presentation today. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to first of all talk about the Dratec USPs, the sort of unique selling proposition we have as an organisation, just so we can bring this AP903 into context of the overall solution set. They're going to spend a little time talking about our Dratec Managed Wireless solution set that some of you may also be familiar with. And the bulk of it is going to be associated with our VigorAP 903, our newly launched mesh Wi-Fi product. I'm going to talk about the Wi-Fi, the mesh Wi-Fi. There's a new app that we've designed to make installation very simple. There's a new graphical user interface for those connecting to this and configuring it, which is new and improved, looks really good to look at, which hopefully you'll appreciate. We'll talk a little bit about the hardware, the physical hardware itself, and then of course we'll have a chance for a Q&A at the end. I reckon we'll be talking for around about 40-45 minutes, and we should be wrapped up within the hour, allowing for your questions. So let me now move on to what we regard to be our unique selling points. Many of you will know us, of course, for our routers, which we've probably been in the business for the last 20 years. That's very successful for us. We've got a dominant share of the small to medium-sized office marketplace. And a few years ago, we introduced access points. These have now fleshed out into a larger range of products, which I'm going to talk about later on, offering a complete solution for the small office in different shapes and sizes. We have a complete switches range now, which dovetails nicely into this whole product set. And with our new VigorACS central management platform, unfortunately not too much time to talk about today, all these individual connectivity solution sets can be centrally managed and monitored with this central system. So essentially, probably for the first time, we have that nice range of routers, comprehensive range of access points for most environments, and now lots of different types and sizes of switches that together will hopefully provide the complete networking solution for small to medium-sized sites, now centrally managed through ACS. So there are other webinars on ACS that can be accessed, but just to give you a kind of brief overview of what this system's all about. ACS is our central management system. It's essentially a license that we offer as a cloud solution that you can subscribe to, or you can buy the license yourself and install it on your own server. But essentially, whatever one of those methods you use, you've got a nice, easy to use central control panel interface that incorporates Google Maps to give you a topological view of your network. This could be worldwide, or it could be in a particular region. You've got a dashboard that shows you all the traffic that's taking place up and down your network, you know, how much data is associated with different areas on the network, making it easy to kind of proactively manage. You can see all your devices, all your groups of devices, all your locations. You can see all the clients, all the individuals that are connected to the network, and you've got this sort of high level sort of network view. So for organizations with several sites, this could be a really useful tool to add to your armory. If you're interested in more information, please do put a note in the chat box and we'll be sure to get back to you on that. So why is Wi-Fi important? Well, I guess you're probably not on this webinar unless you've got a pretty good idea of that. So I guess you kind of know before we've even started really, but it may be important to say that this is a massively growing market for us, and we're seeing this crop up in all sorts of different areas. Very strong in any organisation that's interfacing with the public. So the retail market and hospitality market are two very strong areas where it's growing, where organisations want to enhance that customer experience when they're visiting a location, and frequently now wanting to capture information through data capture means, so they've got valuable marketing details that they can then send out marketing information to. So that's a very, very major part of where we see Wi-Fi opportunity. There's also more flexible working, whether it's people working from home and wandering around the house, or whether it's individuals in offices that need to connect, or whether it's individuals visiting, travelling, going just about everywhere that need that Wi-Fi access to their network. Key driver is all the cloud applications. Offices don't tend to have large IT departments with the big, data server and all the rest of it. It's all in the cloud now, whether it's the CRM system, Windows 365, Google Docs, hosted VoIP, you name it, everything's in the cloud. And what does that mean? You've got to get access to it somehow, often through Wi-Fi. And there's a few other things down there. But anyway, massive, massive market, growing very rapidly. We are now a real key part of that. So some of you may have come across our range of products, but essentially our range of access points come together to form something that we call DRATEC Managed Wireless. And in a nutshell, this means that a whole bunch of devices that you might need to put into a particular location, excuse me, typically the router with a Wi-Fi built into it is not sufficient to cover most offices, so you'll need a number of access points. If you use a DRATEC network, essentially all those individual physical access points kind of come together to form one virtual network, one SSID or one network that the individuals log on to. So essentially, whilst there are multiple devices out there, as far as the user is concerned, they just see one network that they connect to, and they just remain connected to that for the remainder of time that they happen to be in that building. So very simply put, someone can come into a building, they can log on to the first access point that they see, they can then move around from location to location to location effectively without having to disconnect and log back in. So they can continue to do their email, they can continue to do their web browsing, they continue to do whatever it is they need to do without losing connection. There are a whole bunch of other benefits associated with our solution set, but essentially that in a nutshell is what it does. We also do neat things to balance traffic on a network where you may have lots of access points and quite a busy quite a busy environment with maybe lots and lots of individuals wanting to connect. And we do have some great central control solution sets. And one of the big things here, and this is something that I think does help us stand out as an organisation, typically there's no license costs, no license cost per device, no license cost per user. This makes the relative cost of a DRATEC Managed Wireless solution very, very cost effective compared to some of the other solutions that you see out there. So those of you that are familiar with our access points will probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, we have two principal main access points. We have our AP910C, which is our ceiling mounted device, typically used with environments where there's lots of visitors kind of walking around, where you want something that's a little bit covert, or it looks a bit like a smoke alarm that's not very obtrusive. Biggest customer we have uses 4,500 of these devices. It's a care home, I think across 350 locations in the UK. They've rolled this out very, very successfully for people in care homes, but we also have many retailers that use this, many, many small businesses as well. Very, very successful product. The second product is our AP902. This, as you can see, has a more conventional look and feel to it. You've got the aerials and the wall-mounted device. The benefit of this is that it tends to permeate the Wi-Fi in more directions more effectively. So if you imagine like a sphere wrapped around this particular access point, it can reach to the parts many other access points can't. So in many situations, even with an office with 1, 2 or maybe 3 floors, a single access point can permeate wireless just about everywhere. So it's very, very effective for those type of environments. And the final one is really our sort of lower cost, more budget model called the AP810 that supports kind of lower range of wireless. But the main two really are the 902 supporting wireless AC wall mounted, and the AP910C again supporting wireless AC that is ceiling mounted. So what's the new stuff? Well, what is now happening? Well, effectively, The 902 has now been completely replaced by the AP903, which is obviously going to form the bulk of this presentation today. So for all those of you that are using AP902s, the AP903 will seamlessly replace that very, very easily. So for those of you not concerned about meshing and all the additional features of the AP903, essentially it's a straight replacement for the 902. So it will work into an AP902 environment very, very easily. And in fact, when you're looking at our managed wireless networks, all of these three devices will all kind of interchange very, very nicely. So the first thing to say is AP903 is a straightforward like-for-like replacement for the 902. And we're now going to talk about some of the additional benefits of this new product. So we're now going to get into the bulk of the presentation. So I think the first thing to say is this new product, the AP903, dramatically improves the ease of installation and what we call self-healing. So essentially, with the Dratec AP903 mesh Wi-Fi device, you don't essentially need to lay Ethernet cables to these APs. Essentially, wherever there is a power socket in the wall, you can simply plug the access point in, switch it on, and as you'll see through the configurator, which I'll cover in a moment, it really is a piece of cake to get the whole thing up and running and meshing with other access points in the environment. So really very simple for a mum and dad to do, or an organisation that has got someone around to kind of install this fairly easily. Very, very simple to do. There's also a self-healing function here. That essentially means if you've got lots of these access points all communicating to each other, if one gets unplugged or goes down for some reason, or you've got difficulties in a particular area, the whole network kind of self-heals and wraps cotton wool around a particular problem and ensures that the network is still working and reaching all those parts in the office. So that's a huge sort of benefit based on our previous products. The other new introduction is a wireless app that you can load onto iOS or Android. This is the device that helps you configure and in fact self-configure the entire network, and I'm going to show you some screenshots just to show you how easy that is. So I kind of mentioned this before. The introduction of the AP903 significantly lowers the cost of wireless deployment, as well as making the thing very easy. So no cabling, so you don't need to provision cables to all these out of reach places. And as I've said previously, there are no licenses associated with this. That really does reduce the cost. And the central management, which I'm going to cover in a moment, makes it very, very simple to install and also to control going on forward. And the final thing we've done is we've incorporated some of the latest Wi-Fi standards, multi-user, multi-in, multi-out, MIMO capability, and 802.11ac Wave 2 functionality as well. So this will really help to enhance the experience of the users, even if you've got a fairly congested area. So hopefully you'll agree some really good welcome additions in terms of features to our Wi-Fi range. So just to reiterate what I said earlier on, traditionally you would need to lay cable, so you've got to provision it. It can be difficult and costly to do, and sometimes it can be so difficult to get to certain out of reach places for whatever reason. It can mean that you're restricted in terms of where you can run and deploy the Wi-Fi. I think every building's got that dreaded dead zone where you can't get Wi-Fi where inevitably people want to find it. So with a conventional wired network, it can be difficult to do. So with Wi-Fi, with Wi-Fi or mesh, this eliminates these problems. And as you can see here, you can simply connect a device wherever there happens to be power without cables, very easy to set up, and the whole thing can then permeate Wi-Fi throughout the entire building without the need for cabling and all the rest of it. So it really does make it very, very simple for organisations to implement. And just to flesh this out a little bit further and to introduce some terms to you all, we have the concept of two different types of access points. So we have something which we call a mesh route, So the mesh route is what you might call the controller access point. It's the access point that you kind of connect to set the whole network up from. And once you've set that mesh route up, when you add new mesh nodes, or if you like, the subordinate devices in the network that communicate to the controller, it then will automatically deploy those configurations outwards. So it's very, very important to note there. So we've got the device down here that will typically be the one closest to the router or to the gateway device that's connecting to the internet. That's the mesh route. Then we've got multiple mesh nodes, depending on how many you need in the building, that are subordinate to the mesh route and take their configuration instructions from them. So it's all managed as a group. So you'll have these devices all coming together as one single group. And as I've said, they're self-healing and auto-optimizing. And it avoids running Cat5, Cat6 cabling. And just to flesh this out a little bit further, to give you another diagram to show you the true capabilities of this product set. Again, we've got this concept of a mesh route down here, which is the controller device. And as you can see, you've got multiple other access points, mesh nodes in this network. So here I want to introduce the capability. So a DRATEC mesh solution using AP903 will enable you to have up to 8 access points. So that basically is one mesh route device and up to 7 mesh nodes. So I think for the vast majority of environments, that probably pretty much covers it. It takes quite a large environment to require more than 8 access points. So hopefully that will cover most environments for small businesses. There's also the ability to basically daisy chain access points in what we call hops. So a good example down here is we've got the mesh route here. This first hop goes to the first mesh node in the network, which in turn can hop to a second device, which in turn can hop to a third device. So essentially you can have up to 3 hops away, or kind of wireless hops away from the main controller mesh route device. So that can actually take you quite some distance away from where it is. And really for a lot of environments, that really should be sufficient. So we've got the concept of 3 hops here. You can see here another example where we've got 2 hops. And just to add another sort of aspect to this, if you already have cabling connected, you can still take advantage of it. So in this example here, we've actually got a physical Ethernet cable connecting this mesh route to this particular mesh node, and then you've got another hop away to another hop. So there's no reason why you can't do that as well. So in other words, you can mix and match cabled access points and also non-cabled Wi-Fi access points in the same environment. So these hops use 5 gigahertz radio, which is also shared with all the clients. Anyway, I hope that all kind of makes sense anyway. So devices don't need to be cabled up. You can have 8 access points together in this particular group, and you can have up to 3 hops in any one direction. So hopefully that's clear to everybody. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce the DRATEC wireless app. So this is basically used for an individual to simply set up the entire network. And I'm just going to run you through a few screens that will show you how simple this is. So you load the app, and the first thing you see is Welcome DRATEC Wireless, as you can see there. So at the moment, you go into the app, and the app doesn't know what nodes are on the network or what to do, really. So the first thing you need to do is, you can see there's a QR code on the back of the access point. So this access point will be the device that you want to configure as the mesh node. Sorry, I beg your pardon, the mesh route, correct, the mesh route. So you go into the mesh route device, you'd scan in the QR code, and that will automatically set up a kind of default network. So you can see here, it's set up an SSID, so that's basically the name of the network that users will see when they connect. So you probably want to change this later to, I don't know, your company guest or something like that. It gives you the opportunity to put in a Wi-Fi network password as well. So all you've done so far is you've scanned in the QR code, it's kind of defaulted to an SSID, and you've put in the network password that you want to do. That's all you really need to do at this stage. So once you've done that, you can click connect. You now need to connect your device, your tablet or your phone to the network, and you just simply click join. So you're now joined, and as you can see here, by doing that, you set up an SSID. This is called the default Dratec LAN A, and you can see the device has got a MAC address, and you can see the device has also set up an IP address. So once you've done that, you now need to configure more specifics with the mesh route. So you're now going to set that up, and as you can see at the top here, there's a kind of simple timeline that shows you what you're doing. You're now in operation mode. You're now going to move into Wi-Fi setup. Then you can do the admin password, and then you're going to finish. So you simply click next. You're now going to set up the name of the network, name of the wireless network, and you're going to start to enable things. You're now going to set the admin password. Once you've done that, you can now see what's effectively happened is you've got a Wi-Fi name, which you've called wireless network. You've got a Wi-Fi password that users will use to connect to the wireless network. You've got an admin password as well. As you can see, we call that Cloud Ocean Blue, whatever you may want to do. And you can see there that this access point is called the mesh route, which you're now going to use to configure other devices. You then simply select finish. You connect your device, your smartphone to the network, and essentially it's all set up. So in doing that, you've done all you need to do to set that controller mesh route device up. The next step is to connect all your mesh nodes together. So what you've now done is you've walked around the building, you've plugged them all in, you've switched them all on. They're saying, hello, I'm available. What do I need to do next? Well, this is really very simple. So you can see here it says search for mesh nodes. You click next. It will search the network. It'll give you the percentages to where it is. It'll complete it. And it'll then report back on the devices it's found. So in this particular situation, it's found 2 access points, which is defaulted to node 1 and node 2 that you now need to configure. And as you can see here, you've selected a kind of tick box here to ensure you've explained that's what you want to configure. And once you've done that, you simply click next. And it will now select those 2 nodes, and it will apply the network settings that you've just set. In other words, it'll apply the SSID you've set, and it'll apply the Wi-Fi password you've set as well. So simply click finish, and essentially the job is done. So that was literally it. So that's setting up a controller device that's going to be your mesh route, and the 2 subordinate remote access point devices, which we've called mesh nodes. And as you can see down here, it's giving you a report back saying, okay, we're connected to the mesh route. We've got 3 devices. We've got 3 online devices, and actually already here you can see that it's showing there are 11 clients that are connecting to it. It really is as simple as that. Now, once you've got the whole thing set up, you can, through the wireless app, you can then tell a little bit about what's going on. So let me just explain this in a little bit more depth here. So on the left-hand side here, it's now showing you the devices that are connected. Now, actually, we're talking about the AP903 today. We also have another product in the range we haven't got really time to go through today, which is actually our ruggedized version of this product. It's called the AP920. So this can basically sit outside in the car park or whatever. It's resistant to rain and temperatures and so on. So on this, we've effectively got a device here, which we're calling the mesh route, and we've got another 3 devices that are connected to it. It makes full use of colour here, so you can see we've got signal blue down here, And if you look over to the far right, hopefully you can see where the dot's going. You can see here that blue means excellent, sort of green means good, yellow means fair, red means offline. So that will give you a very simple visual look on what devices you've got on the network and what the signal looks like. If you look at the middle section here, this is the client element of the app. You can see all the individuals that are connected. It'll tell you a little bit about the type of device that's connected. It'll give you a little bit about the signal strength, show you speeds and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's not going to go into infinite detail about absolutely everything, but it really does give you a very simple view of who's using the network, what access points are working, issues and so on and so forth. So hopefully a lot of you can see that's going to be a really, really useful thing to have. Okay, so that's a little bit about the range of products, how it fits into the managed wireless range, and I also spent some time going through the app, which really is a piece of cake to use. So I'm now going to talk about some of the new features. So the first thing to talk about is we've got a new graphical user interface for those of you that want to sort of connect through the conventional web to kind of configure it. So this is the sort of old look and feel of configuring a Dratec device. This is called the AP902, but those of you sort of familiar with other Dratec devices will be very familiar with that. So this actually looked okay up until quite recently, but even now I can see this looks terribly 70s, and it really does look terribly old-fashioned. So when I compare this to that, isn't that quite a difference in terms of look and feel? So a number of things to kind of talk about now. Obviously, we've got the sort of app that you look on the phone here, that you do on the phone, but look at this now on the laptop or device you're using to connect to the user interface. One of the great sort of introductions we've got a virtual view of this piece of hardware, and some of you may already be familiar with this, but essentially that's what the back of the device looks like, and it makes use of color to indicate what might be connected to it. So for example, here you can see there's a port on this access point that's gone green. That effectively means that there is a device connecting that's connected at gigabit speeds. If it was orange, I think it would be 10/100. If it's green, it would be gigabit. So a very, very simple way of looking virtually at what's going on could really save a man in a van visit, which could be very useful. So this is the dashboard that you can drill down on. You know, this is showing you the wireless clients connected. This is showing you the load on the different Wi-Fi channels. Here's an overview of the device name, the IP address, the uptime, and so on and so forth. You've got some system resource information there, some overview of the network. You've got a nice sort of trend analysis, looking at throughputs over a period of time and so on. So it's really good, really intuitive, at a glance view on what's going on the network, which hopefully you'll find useful, and obviously fine-tuned for a smartphone, as you can see down here, in similar style. So again, that's quite a change for us compared to how we used to do these things. So this is a view of what the physical hardware actually looks like. And as you can see here at the back of the device, this is the AP903. You've actually got 5 LAN ports on the back. One of them is actually a PoE device, interestingly. So potentially you could power something off that, and maybe a camera or maybe a IP phone or something like that. You've got 5 LAN ports, of which they can be segmented into 2 separate LANs. So we've got LAN A, which has got 4 LAN ports associated with it, and you've got LAN B, which is associated with a single port. So again, in certain situations might be quite useful to connect non-Wi-Fi devices to this, or maybe you want to segment the network into 2, for example. There may be 2 companies in one particular office or something. So lots of flexible reasons why you might want to use that. So hopefully that's a useful depiction of kind of what's available from a hardware standpoint. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Alex, for answering all those questions. And we hope that you will start to use this type of technology from Dratec in your own networks. And please do get in touch if we can assist further. So thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you at some time in the future on a future webinar. Okay, bye now.